bright sunny day. Very tempting to be outside at the moment, isn't it?
We could do it outside.
Yeah.
Chaotic, but
this is Chrissie, who I first met at yoga, I think, and
Yes.
then heard about shamanic drumming workshops, which one of which I've managed to attend. Unfortunately, they're in the evening, I'm often working, and but it was just a lovely experience. And Chrissie's going to tell us a bit about shamanism and how the drumming works and much more. So I'll leave her to it. Thank you very much, Chrissie.
hi everybody, welcome. So I thought that I would talk a little bit, but rather than talk a lot, give you a little taster of a shamanic drum session so you can all experience it for yourselves, and a little sound bath afterwards because everybody likes a sound bath over here. And who's been to a sound bath? Yes, and did you like it? Good. Okay, so I brought some of my sound instruments. It's a little bit different when we do it shamanically because we don't tend to stick with gongs and crystal bowls. We use all sorts of pleasant and maybe slightly sometimes irritating sounds, but there's a reason for that which I'll go into before we do the practical. So a little bit about me to start with. I first and foremost trained as a physiotherapist. I don't know if some of you might know me because I've been doing that for 30 years. So people from around and about have been to me with aches and pains and things, and that's what I was originally mainly known for. But I trained very, very soon after that as a hypnotherapist, and I trained as a hypnotherapist because I went on a self-help through hypnosis course and thought, wow, this is magic. And actually all of my clients are coming with pain that starts off as an emotional thing and usually then ends up as, so you bear all your burdens on your shoulders. So if somebody's really stressed, they come with neck and shoulder pain and so on. And very, very quickly I realised there's a huge connection and that mind, body, spirit, all that stuff can't be separated, and why would we want to? So that was and I really trained as a hypnotherapist for myself to kind of for personal growth, to heal past traumas, which we all have, and realised then I could do it outside of the NHS and have my own clients, and I've been doing that for a long time. Most of the psychotherapy that I do actually started with my hypnotherapy, but I did train as a psychotherapist, and I do that and physio and hypnotherapy and shamanic healing, Reiki, essence therapy, and drum healing in my clinic. I don't know if I missed anything out there because it all homogenates into one when somebody comes and says, oh, I've got a really sore ankle, and then we end up drumming with some needles in and giving them an essence, and so it all kind of becomes one. EFT, I forgot to mention that one. So how did I come to shamanic practice? It seemed like a natural progression because it encompasses so much of what I was already doing. And again, I was thirsty for personal growth, and particularly the stuff that feels uncomfortable, that you think, ooh, I didn't like that she said, like, and why did I do that? And why have I got myself into this mess? And when you start to look at your shadow self and things like that, and you look at why you get yourself into an uncomfortable place, and you look at the discomfort, it's really, really sort of enlightening. And as soon as you can get uncomfortable with the uncomfortable things about you, it's magic. It just reveals that actually nothing needs to be uncomfortable. You can heal everything, and that we're all whole. None of us are broken. None of us are defective. None of us are missing a bit. And trauma can be healed. There's a big difference between a wound and a scar. Scars are great. They change you. The tissue is less elastic. It's knitted back together. It shows you can survive, whereas a wound is something that hasn't been healed yet, needs working on. And I'm talking metaphorically as well as physically, because obviously, first of all, I had my roots in the physical. So I came to shamanic practice just kind of, I think I went to a very cheap workshop that somebody did where they were banging a drum, and we went into trance, which I was used to doing, and it was not guided. It was, just go where you're taken. If a guide comes for you, or if you're shown something, to go with it. And I really loved that, because even though I do a lot of guided meditation in the work that I do, I loved the fact that nobody was telling me where to go or what to do, and it was my journey and I got to explore, and it was quite an enlightening day, and that's sort of what set me on the practice. So I trained as a shamanic practitioner. and started to sort of weave it into my work as a physio. So people would, for example, I'm an acupuncturist, so I'd have the acupuncture needles in, but then somebody, and you drop into a slightly altered state of awareness when you have acupuncture needles in, and you become a little bit more suggestible. So when you talk to somebody about how they might relax, how they might think about the things that are bubbling up to the surface, you know the needles are in, and so you know that your words are having a better effect. But if you can't put the electroacupuncture on because they've got a heart condition or they don't like it, if you bang your drum, the windows are shaking and the cabinets are shaking, so I know something's going on physically. Everything's shaking. We can't be not having an effect with that sound. And also, 3 to 4 beats per second of a shamanic drum will take you into an altered state of awareness. So no need to tell somebody to sleep or do the whole hypnotherapy thing. They're already there because they're already really relaxed, and those needles are working their magic. And then you can maybe suggest to them, you know, if you've talked about various things that they've brought to you. And people don't say things by coincidence. If they come in, they say, you know, I've had a terrible row with my mother-in-law, or I'm having a terrible difficulty with this habit. They're telling you because it's coming out. So you can maybe suggest to them that they think about that while they're having the treatment. So it started to weave it in a little bit and realise that actually some people do actually want this and actually will seek it out and ask you for a shamanic healing, which surprised me hugely in this Western sort of pharmaceutically obsessed world where we are indoctrinated into thinking that we should be taking tablets first. Some people want to heal themselves without kind of going to see the doctor. So that was really nice and refreshing. So I've worked in the NHS for decades. I now work on my own. I've got a clinic with my husband. He's a sports therapist. He works with some of the world's strongest men and various athletes and things, and we have a really good holistic view on how people like to be treated. And I also have another business where it would seem unconnected, but it isn't. I have a friend who's a GP, and we teach resilience to mainly medics, but other people as well. So it's about standing in your own power, learning how to create boundaries, learning how to communicate without contaminated messages, and understanding what your intention is and why you're triggered by things. It's all shamanic stuff. These are all shamanic principles. Which I'm going to switch around what I was going to say now, which brings me on to how it relates to modern psychotherapy. So a lot of the modern psychiatrists like Jung and Freud and people like that, and also some of the gurus like Eckhart Tolle, anybody heard of him? Yeah. So they've all been kind of into the East and realised we've known this stuff for millennia. In fact, one of the maxims above the in Delphi is know thyself. And another one is, I can't actually remember, Epictetus as well. We always say Adler says it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it that is important. But actually Epictetus said that a good few thousand years before Adler said it, so he can't really quite entirely have that. But well done for bringing it into the modern world. So again, this is the same. Our modern psychotherapy, the techniques that we use, which incidentally aren't used that much in the NHS, like I say soul retrieval because it's a shamanic term, but inner child work and shadow work and archetypal stuff, they all come from a shamanic place. So it seemed like a good place to start, to go back to look at the kind of brass tacks of where all of this psychotherapy came from, and to empower ourselves to heal ourselves rather than to go to somebody else and put our well-being in the hands of someone we don't know that well. Does anybody know then well, I've sort of kind of outlined it, but does anybody have any other ideas about shamanism or experiences of shamanism? Have any of you, Susie's revealed her experiences, a little experience. Anybody had a shamanic healing or been to a drum circle or? You have? Oh, have you? Yeah. Do you want to share that?
I think I'm finding myself now in this life. I think I've definitely got like Native American shamanism. It's really strange, some of the things, you know, when I think back to my childhood. I watched this really strange movie, might be something like James Bond, but kind of wasn't.
Right.
And the shaman, I think it was a male I remembered, and somebody got a stick and they sucked it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then did some like pulp thing, then put it on and then healed it. It was really strange because that was like really young memories. And I was making a lot of things when I was little, like probably a lot of people, and I've kind of brought that back into this reality. So I'm healing with natural remedies, probably like a lot of people.
Perfect. You will have to share that with me after this session. Very good.
But can I just apologise in advance? I was just saying to Alan, I've had to like this like weird migraine for about 2 or 3 days. It's really forced me to get here. If it wouldn't have been anybody else, I probably wouldn't have come. So if I do just have to leave the room, it's nothing personal because I love this kind of thing. It just means I've knocked me balance out of equilibrium. Alan's the same.
You might want to sit with it when we do the drumming and see if it actually wants to. Yeah, because actually those are the kind of things we come in with and we transmute them and we move them. So precisely. Yeah, you made the decision to come. So whatever happens and whatever you feel you need to do, that's absolutely fine by me. No
I
problem.
go to a sound bath every month, which I find really healing. I don't know if that's to do with shamanism.
What, sorry?
A sound bath.
Oh,
yeah.
So I find, because I do lead quite a healthy life from the point of view of the physical things we're supposed to do, but I find that I still need my energies realigning.
Yeah.
And I go every evening if I could, but he only does it once a month. So walking a lot in nature, and I almost always have to just stop in my tracks because something, a colour or a tree or something seems to connect with me.
Yeah.
And when I'm walking, especially on an audit walk, they just look at me and I just say, it's okay, I'm looking at the sky. But I'm not actually, I'm connecting to some energy that seems to flow into me.
Yeah.
And the more I'm doing it, the more I feel it happens.
Yeah,
So
because if you put your intention in, because the universe is listening, if you say I saw that sign or I picked up on that, you'll get more of it because you're giving your attention
I'm
to
not
it, which is
particularly
good.
looking for it. It's just the more I've done the sound baths, the more I'm drawn to that.
Yeah.
So and it does help me feel more balanced.
Yeah, perfect. So you said a really key phrase there. It's nature based.
Right.
And so walking in nature, because we use feathers and drums. I'm vegan, so I struggled hugely with the skin of an animal for a drum. But intention is everything. You're honouring the animal. The animals that we use for I'm going to talk about the drums in a minute. Every bit of the animal is used, and the drum spirit is different if you use skin. But I'll come on to talking about drums in a second. So it's nature based. So we use feathers and drums. We use plant medicine, but not in remedies. We use spirits of plants and journey with plants and things. So it's another aspect of what you were talking about in terms of using the natural world for healing. Because of course all drugs come from plants, don't they? So we already knew how to heal before pharmaceutical companies told us that we needed them to heal us. So nature-based, it's the oldest form of spirituality. So before religion came about, we were tribal, weren't we? And there would have been a medicine man in every tribe, and he wouldn't have just been about making a poultice, or he would have been about if you were upset or depressed, if you had difficulties with your partner, if you'd lost somebody, if you were in debt, not that debt probably existed, or if your crops weren't growing. It was a much more all-encompassing type of healing where you'd be looking at the energies and balancing energies and using the natural world and all of the spirit around in the natural world. It's the oldest spiritual path, and it's cross-cultural. Sometimes we who in the West who walk a shamanic path will take our teachings and our skills from far-flung places like Peru, Siberia, and that's because unfortunately all our sages were burned or hanged, weren't they? We don't have a lot of the old ways left here in Europe. We don't have a lot to go on in terms of what our ancestry is, but we're all one anyway, so it doesn't really matter which ancestors you're looking at, does it? Because they're all our ancestors. So I very kindly respond to that with, sometimes we receive criticism from people who have a line back towards indigenous tribes, and actually it doesn't matter, does it? Because we're all human and we're all looking for the older ways of creating healing. So anybody can walk this shamanic path. It doesn't follow any particular religion. There are plenty of Christians I know who do this work. There are Buddhists, there are Hindus. And interestingly enough, when you start to journey, you will see the entities that you're used to. So if you're a yoga person, you might see Ganesh. If you want to let go of something and you need Ganesh's kind of power to spur you on, or one that I actually invoked a long time ago before I really knew what I was doing was Kali, and she is the goddess of death, of rebirth, and if you want rid of something, she will absolutely help you, and if she's there, it's leaving anyway, but she helps to take the band-aid off or gently let you release. So, and you might see Christ if you're Christian, or you might see Mary Magdalene, because our brains, and I'm going to talk very sort of philosophically now. It's widely accepted in certain aspects of shamanism that our brains are an organ and its job is to think, and that consciousness is way bigger, and we actually almost download it, and we have a human consciousness. That's the Carl Jung theory, is that all of us have a collective consciousness, which is why I might understand if my husband was upset and I hadn't seen him that day, but I would just get the sense from him because we're sharing very close consciousness, or I might dream about something and then it happens because human consciousness is kind of shared between all of us, and it helps us to understand each other. What was I talking about? Our little brain. Okay. So our brains have. So we're communicating with spirit, or we're creating these messages for ourselves as a metaphor, like the psychiatrists believe we're doing when we dream, so that we can process things, or we're connecting to a higher part of the self that already knows, or we're talking to actual spirit. Don't ask me which one of those it is, because whatever you believe is true for you, and it does not matter. So don't let anybody tell you what this stuff is, because we don't know what this stuff is. Nobody's going to sit there and say, you're definitely talking to your Auntie Janet, or that's your power animal, and that's definitely a goddess, because we don't know, do we? What we see is unique to us, or at least in our own experience it is, and it's for us. And what we make of it, we know really, actually. If we sit with it, we know why we're seeing certain things. We just need to trust our intuition. I've just been sharing on our WhatsApp group for the drumming circle, to connect with the full moon. Ask permission, always connect with the full moon, but don't look it up and see what this moon means and this eclipse means, because you'll know what it means for you, and it won't be the same as what it means for everybody else. So anybody can walk the path. There's nothing to stop you. How old do you think it is, shamanism?
Since the dawn of man.
Yeah, I'd say so. 35,000 years is what I have down here, but I'm not quite sure how they know that. Apart from cave paintings, which may or may not suggest the banging of a drum and the use of feathers and so on. But yes, I would say it's probably been handed down. And they've done their best, organised religions, to stamp it out, I think, and to call us heathens. But that's organised religion tends to be more of a human man thing, isn't it? It's about getting people to kind of do stuff together, and I'm not passing any judgment there. But it's prior to religion and doctrine. Lots of cave paintings, as I say, in the Altai Mountains, and there's some at Cresswell Crags. Has anybody been?
No, I've been near it.
Have you?
We never quite got there.
Oh, you'll have to do a bus trip.
Yeah.
Invite me, please. Okay, so I talked about how it relates to modern psychotherapy. So lots of modern scholars have been there, have done shamanic training, or have been on retreats, or have been to Tibet and worked with the monks and worked in silence, and all of that stuff is related. But I just thought I'd share with you a few techniques that, as a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist, I suddenly thought, oh, that's the same but with using a different language. So I mentioned it already, soul retrieval. So when you are working as a trauma therapist with somebody, you are looking to, has anybody experienced going back in time and rescuing yourself from a past experience you have? I won't ask you to share. But basically, whatever you are in the world, if you're a really good friend to somebody, you are exactly the friend that you need, because you're being the best friend that you know to be, and that's what you need. And that's the same with parenting. None of us ever get what we need unless, or what we think we need in terms of parenting. There's always trauma, because you get told off and you get told it's naughty. And being told something that is naughty incurs to the psyche a terrible risk of death, because we're tribal, and actually the worst thing that can happen to you as a child is to get kicked out and abandoned and rejected, because that's death. So anything that suggests that might happen like disapproval. There's nothing worse, is there, that you could be flayed within an inch of your life, but if your mother says, you've so disappointed me, it's like knife to the heart, because it's like saying we reject you, we don't want you, and so we're seeking the opposite of abandonment all the time, which looks like approval, love, being told you're good at something, and we actually turn into somebody who's good at whatever we've been told to be good at. So for example, if I do some artwork and somebody in my family says, "Oh, that's very good, you're a very good artist," I'll do it loads, won't I, and show loads of people. And then they'll say, "Oh yes, she's a good artist." Well, yeah, because I've drawn 1,000 trees to try and impress people. So we become, so if you to think about describing yourself in 50 words, all of those words are things you've adopted and said, "Yes, that's me," and you wear them on yourself. You say, "That's me." If you describe yourself, "This is who I am," that's who you are, because the tribe liked it and you got to stay. And every time we're told something is naughty, so as children we're all capable of snatching and hitting and biting and grabbing and being selfish, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? And when you're disapproved of for that, you become not that at all. You become a very generous, loving, peaceful person. And that's how you describe yourself. But actually, still a part of you is capable of doing those things, and that goes into your shadow. And when you see somebody outrageously doing that thing, it reminds you that the thing is in the shadow, and we don't like those people. In fact, we massively disapprove of them. So the next time you find yourself hugely judging somebody, for example, if you saw somebody smacking a child, "Oh, that's awful, I would never do that." You know that you're capable of smacking, and that's in your shadow. So those kind of things, it's all about radical self-awareness. And as soon as you find out that you're whole and you can love every bit, even the bit that's capable of smacking, because one day you might get mugged and you may need to smack somebody, it's okay. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the go-ahead. Okay, so soul retrieval I was talking about. When you do that in a child work, the idea is that we don't live on a linear kind of something's in the past and then we leave it behind and we walk forward. There's a universal theory that everything's happening all at once, all in different places of the universe. So all time